This early morning, let's explore Taoism and goals. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the toasty sands of Tatooine, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist or Taoist meditation, philosophy, or chanting, there is no need to be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. I did not get enough sleep last night. Yesterday afternoon, or was it? Yeah, yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening, I mucked about with the 6-syllable mantra. Which never seems to agree with me. It always interrupts my sleep. But although I am groggy, I'm going to do my very best to use my talents to be of service and to do the best I can under these unpleasant circumstances. Woodit asked a question about Taoism and goals. How does a life of goal setting or ambitions in regard to personal development fit into Taoist ideas? I'm intrigued by what I'm reading about this philosophy, but I also have goals in regards to my physical fitness, career experiences, etc. I'm also under the impression that pursuing one's goals is important for a fulfilled life. Does this square? This person asked a wonderful question, and they worded it really, really well. It's always nice to see this. Taoism is it's like an umbrella with many, many things underneath it. I guess you could say it's like an awning in a cafe in Paris in the middle of summer. It is, there are a lot of people enjoying the shade. So it's one awning, but a lot of people are enjoying the shade beneath it. So there is shamanistic Taoism, there is philosophical Taoism, there is portentous Taoism, there is alchemical Taoism, there is medical Taoism, and the like. It would seem that this person was asking about philosophical Taoism. With what expertise I possess, I feel like the easiest way to master Taoist philosophy is by immersing oneself in a very short, teeny tiny book. A book so small it can fit in your shirt pocket. The Tao Te Ching. So I'm going to tap button 2 and share some, what's it called? Lists with you. So even during the first reading of the Tao Te Ching, we learned that there is yang tendencies or attributes and yin attributes. Now, a lot of American authors tend to insist that the goal of the Tao Te Ching is to balance yang and yin. And that sounds perfectly understandable until you actually read the book without a commentary, just reading the book. I remember many years ago, a teacher said, if you want to understand something considered a scripture, stay away from commentaries and just immerse yourself in that scripture and allow that scripture to be its own commentary. Now, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it is the best way to master the author's intent of that scripture. If someone was to recite 6 poems of the Tao Te Ching once every 12 hours, they could get through the entire book every week. And that means they would read through it in its entirety 20 times. I'm sorry, yes. 100 times every 2 years and 1,000 times in just 20 years, which could really give you a good perspective of the author's intent. When one does that, one sees that there are passages which say explicitly that although we should be aware of Yang's attributes, we should always rely on Yin attributes. So that means instead of being rigid, we choose to be flexible. Instead of being controlled by fear, we at least strive to be controlled by love. Instead of being controlling, we choose to be laid back. Instead of being elitist, we choose to be egalitarian. Instead of being competitive, we choose to be, this is important, cooperative. And instead of being cruel, we choose to be kind. Now, it's embarrassing that these things have to be mentioned, but they do. When we are in the thrall of rigidity, fear, controlling tendencies, cruelty is never far away. Goal setting is a rigid experience. Goal setting is a controlling experience. The wisdom, the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching implore us to choose to be flexible and to choose to be laid back. When it comes to pursuing a goal in any area of our lives, there are 2 extremes in a happy medium. One extreme is to be contrived, to have an agenda, to be rigid. The other extreme is to be scattered, like a kid who's eaten far too much chocolate and who's spinning around the living room. The middle ground is centered spontaneity. It has been said that the 3 treasures of the Tao, according to some translators, are simplicity, patience, and compassion. We allow patience and compassion to inform our journey upon the path of simplicity, or what some would call centered spontaneity. With those three as our only goals, the promise of the author of the Tao Te Ching is that everything will work out eventually. Now you might say, and one might say, well, that seems sort of self-serving. But this man has been dead, this man or woman or individual has been dead for a very long time. And yet his little thin book is the most read book in the world, second only to the Bible. That's huge. It has survived culture, it survived politics, it survived time, it survived religious fanaticism, and it has endured. So the idea is that if we are flowing from a place of centered spontaneity, our most important needs will be met in the most wonderful way. Not necessarily the quickest way or the flashiest way or the way we might think or assume would be best. But it seems to work out that way. Now, contrary to popular belief, the author of the Tao Te Ching does not implore us to trust the Tao. Why not? Because trust is a form of rigidity. I'm reminded of a passage. I'm reminded of a commercial from the 1970s in which the waiter says to the patron, "Try it, you'll like it." That's the same idea that we see in the Tao Te Ching. There's no dogma, there's no implore. The text does not seek to implore us to practice rigid belief, but to say, try this path, see if it doesn't work out. It's been my experience that it does. I'd like to start this morning's practice, but before I do, I'm going to take a minute for housekeeping. Every day I broadcast every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. With your assistance, with your cooperation, this channel could come to help support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If that sounds good to you, and you'd like to help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, simply take your smartphone's camera and capture this QR code, which can be tough to do if you're actually watching this on a smartphone right now. And if that's the case, simply scroll down to the description area below the video and click one of the donation links, if you so desire. Let's turn our attention to oopsie, that's the wrong one. Let's try this thing over here and try this one. Let's turn our attention to the latest iteration of Diamond Mind's Easy Tantra. Let us begin with our preliminary practices, whereby we train our neural pathways responsible for empathy and enthusiasm through a method as simple as chanting the recitations of bodhicitta and refuge. If you've just joined me, allow me to remind you that when you have a question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, or chanting, to simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. One moment, if you please. File, save as. Wednesday. Okay, well that was interesting. Let's tend to the screen quickly. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. We turn our attention now to mantra meditation by beginning by reviewing the meaning of this 6-syllable mantra. Om, I invoke the Benza diamond-like strength of a sattva mind well trained in love and letting go, supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. In harmony with my explanation of the Tao Te Ching, the strength that we refer to is a strength that comes from letting go, not the strength, not the facade of strength associated with rigidity. Consider, if you will, the photograph of this statue. In Sanskrit, it could be described as Vajrasattva Karma Mudra. In Tibetan, it could be described as Dorje Sempa Yabyum. And in English, it could be described as Diamond Mind, Mother and Father. The iconography of this Yadam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize the 8 figures of speech necessary for deeply transformative mantra contemplation. So this isn't superstition. We are not invoking the blessings of real or imagined entities. We are simply addressing the oldest parts of our brain, which evolved to think symbolically. We begin with love and letting go, which is known by many names, such as generation stage or creation stage of Buddhist Tantra. As we chant the mantra, I could feel as if diamond rays were emitting from a thumbnail-sized horizontal 6-syllable mantra rosary at our heart. lavishing all minds, communication, bodies, and circumstances, with wisdom, love, health, and good fortune, centered and spontaneous. We begin by contemplating love, for doing so helps us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. May all minds of all beings know me as peaceful and wise as our Buddha's mind, symbolized by a one-syllable mantra known as a Zero Bija mantra. There are two tricks we use to transform mere mantra recitation into actual mantra contemplation. The first is that when chanting the mantra, we physically relax as best we can. And the second is that when breathing in, during each in-breath, we silently and mentally recite a synopsis of the 4 lines of explanation that elaborated the contemplation. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. May all relationships of all beings now be as joyful and loving as a Buddha's communication symbolized by the 6-syllable mantra. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health depicted in Buddhist thought of the blissful body of a yidam of lore and archetype of enlightenment. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung, Om Benza Sato Hung. May all circumstances of all beings now be as safe and fortunate as a Buddha's paradise, pure land or vati of lore. If you've just joined the live stream, welcome aboard. When you have questions about Buddhist meditation, philosophy, or chanting, simply type that question in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. And of course, if you could type that question in detail, that would be lovely. Om Zazado Hung 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 Om Zazado Hung. So if you've just joined in, with each during our mantra contemplation, with each inhalation, we silently and mentally recite this loving intention, which is condensed from the preceding 4 lines. And during each exhalation, not only do we chant the mantra, but we do so while physically relaxing as best we can. Om Zazado Hung 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 Om Zazado Hung. We now shift gears from love to letting go, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. So just like before, we're going to, during each in-breath, we're going to silently and mentally recite something. This time we're going to recite a rhetorical question which will help us to develop the wisdom of letting go, based upon the preceding bit of explanation. How is it that as we inhale, our circumstances could appear quite vivid, yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a cloudless sky or a vati of light? Vati is Sanskrit for pure land. Pure land is a more literal translation of the word vati, which could be translated figuratively as paradise. So whether a paradise is real or most likely imagined, regardless of how beautiful it is, if it's comprised of light, it is as non-graspable as a rainbow. Om Zazado Hung Om Zazado Hung Om Zazado Hung Om Zazado Hung. We're using the word lance as a monosyllabic synonym for circumstance. And we're using void here as a synonym for non-graspable, which is short for the phrase as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Or as, yeah, there you go. Om Zazado Hung 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 Om Zazado Hung. How is it that as we inhale, all bodies could feel quite sensual, yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void or a yidam of light? Remember, a yidam is simply an archetype of enlightenment. Om Zazado Hung 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 Omen Zazato 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 Hung. How is it that as we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication could be quite resounding? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as not graspable as a cloudless sky or a mantra of light. Omen Zazato Hung 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 How is it that as we inhale, we could perceive our mind's functions quite clearly? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable as a vast empty void or a bija of light. So remember, bija is a one-syllable mantra. But what do we mean by mind's functions? We mean mind's ability to emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine, as well as perceive sights, scents, sounds, flavors, sensations, and the like. Omen Zazato Hung 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 Having performed 128 repetitions of this 6-syllable mantra, we now turn our attention to silent contemplations. For the next 4 contemplations, Let's leap over the tyranny of hating. For the next set of contemplations, we're going to explore the dance of impermanence and interdependence, beginning with circumstance. Let us use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. Let us use this inference of absorption as a metaphor of interdependence, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. It's not our job to visualize. If all we do is silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation, we will make progress on the path. So the idea is, what could it be like if all circumstances, including our own, blissfully melted into rainbow light and now absorbed into our body? What could it be like if all bodies of all beings, including our own, blissfully melted into rainbow light, then now absorbed into our speech faculty? What could it be like if the speech faculty of all beings, including ours, blissfully melted into rainbow light, then now absorbed into our mind? Fourthly, what could it be like if all minds of all beings, including ours, blissfully melted into a rainbow light that now absorbed into infinite openness? If you've just joined, welcome. If at any point you have a question about Buddhist meditation, philosophy, or even chanting, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. We now transition from contemplation to meditation. We're going to play with two meditations this morning. The first one is the union of bliss and letting go, which is known by many names, including completion stage tantra. Our goal is to, during each inhalation, notice our body's sensation, and during each exhalation, to relax into those sensations' non-graspable nature. How do we do that? Simple. During each inhalation, we silently and mentally recite seed joy. And during each exhalation, we silently and mentally recite relaxing. Your mind will wander. That is what it has evolved to do. Sometimes the stuff that you notice will be in the background. Sometimes it'll be in the foreground. Persist in reciting these words in harmony with our inhalation, exhalation, and relaxation, and you will make progress in the path. Let us contemplate love and letting go. And now we're going to explore the union of awareness and acquiescence. Although we can see our circumstances as we breathe in, or let's say, as we breathe in, our circumstances can seem quite vivid. As we breathe out, they could feel a trifle bit non-graspable. As we breathe in, our bodies could feel rather sensual, and yet as we exhale, these exact same bodies could feel less graspable. We now prepare to practice awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, including Zen, Chan, Dhyana, and Great Completion Stage, and Tantra's Great Completion Stage. As we breathe in, we notice mind. And as we breathe out, we relax into mind's non-graspable nature. We accomplish this by silently and mentally reciting "Notice this" as we breathe in, and silently and mentally reciting "Relaxing" as we breathe out. Let us conclude our practice with 5 chants of universal love, beginning with mastery and liberation. May I, like diamond mind, master the eightfold path as well as liberate all others. The ethics of kindness. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. Auspicious rebirth. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. Universal love. Throughout these lands and everywhere upon the earth in general, may the sufferings of disease, famine, and warfare be entirely unknown, so that not even the names occur. May practice of the Dharma merit and prosperity increase, and may there always be good fortune and well-being in abundance. We conclude now with the 4 immeasurables. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel that I have earned it, type something in the chat window. Give this live stream a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you are as geeky as me, this is the way.